Good evening, everybody. We have a guest for the first little couple of minutes of the show here. This is my wife, Desiree. I'm sure many of you have heard of her, but she happened to be in here and she wanted to say hi to everybody.
Hi. Hi.
What?
Do I need to say anything else?
I don't know. Would you want to say anything else?
I don't know. Let's see what you say.
Don't worry about what I say. What I say is my business.
Fair enough.
I'm just messing with you, baby. I love you. But no, this woman right here is she's pretty awesome.
Well, I can see things a lot better now.
Yeah, glasses do that when
Yeah.
you need them.
Right.
Like, I thought you would understand something like that. You've always had them on. Don't take them off or don't leave them on for too long. You'll leave me because you'll realize that I don't look so good.
Well, you are better looking now.
Oh, you're a liar. You're a horrible one at that.
I'm a great liar.
Yeah, I hope not. Yeah, I'm gonna get the show started, but thank you for coming and saying hi to everybody and saying hi to the pup. He's good.
Hey, Frankie, he's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. He's a good boy. I love you.
Love you too.
All right. She wanted to say hi to the dog and everything. Frankie's had kind of a self-induced rough day because he decided to eat a chicken bone, so I had to feed him some bread really, really quick to keep it from getting bad. Turn the light on for me on the way out, please.
Right. This,
Yeah. I don't notice it so much sitting over here because I'm facing away from it, but I need the lighting for the camera. Alrighty. So, as Han Solo would say, if we could avoid any more female advice. Um, so, I'm officially filing this under Trap Game. Maple leaves with no Matthews, and Matthew Nyes is allegedly going to play, even though he's got a knee injury that's been bothering him all year, but he's still planning on playing tonight. I have that stuff in the slides and everything like that. We'll get to some of the comments first, then we'll go right into the show from there. Lubeck says Bussy needs this one. I agree. He's got no excuses tonight. I'm going to be talking about him a whole lot here. Yellow, what's up, BTS? I'm having a very stressful week, so I might not say much, but I'm going to listen. I'm sorry about that, buddy. I hope it gets better for you. I had a relatively stress-free week until I had to start monitoring my dog because he ate that damn chicken bone. I was going to have to run him to the emergency vet, but he looks like he's fine. Sup, Warning Take. What's up, Grayson? Go Canes. Cat 5 coming to destroy the Leafs tonight. Let's hope. Yeah, this is a trap game. And it needs to be a statement game for Brandon Bussy. He will see some high-quality shots, even without Matthews. The Leafs are just that team that's kind of like that. They do need to score a lot to win, but we're going to get into all that. All right, so typical Don't Sue Me slide. As you know, I don't like Money Puck anymore because they're kind of douchebags, so I will no longer be using them. I'm going strictly to natural stat trick for the most part with all the advanced stats. If you guys saw that exchange on X, you probably know why I decided I'm not going to use them anymore. Because I'm not going to sit there and let people just arbitrarily say negative things about Jacob Slavin and then me give them any publicity whatsoever. That's not going to happen. What you doing, pal? Go lay down. Crazy dog. All right. So again, store's live now. The link is in the description if you want to pick you up a hat or the Jankowski played well decal, the prospects forecast decal, or the main logo decal. All that stuff is still there. It's at the same price it was at the introductory level. So if you want to pick you up a hat or a decal or anything like that, more will be on here soon. There's going to be some shirts. The first shirt I'm planning on doing is a tank top. I just haven't had time to sit down and design it. But, you know, since I wear tank tops all the time, especially since I live in the low country now where it's warm most of the year, I wear them all the time. And plus, I feel pretty good in a tank top nowadays. All right. Sorry that says Capital One Arena. I kind of edited this in a hurry, but that would be kind of funny to see a Canes and Leafs game at Capital One Arena, but ignore that one part. That's from when I did the last show and I didn't get the chance to update that. So Canes are doing pretty solid right now. They have 92 points. They are 8 ahead of the Pittsburgh Penguins for the top spot in the Metropolitan Division. They are neck and neck with the Buffalo Sabres, who they have one game in hand on. Both teams have 92 points. Toronto, this year has been kind of over for them for a while. They have a total of 70 points. They are 14 back from Wild Card 2. They recently lost Austin Matthews on what was just an outright dirty knee-on-knee hit from Radko Gudas. So, and we Canes fans, we know from the ECF a few years ago, the guy, he's a dirty player. We all know it. It's no secret. Carolina is 18-10-4 on the road. The Maple Leafs are 12-7 at home. In the last 10 games, Carolina is 6-4-0, pulling off that really outstanding overtime victory against the Penguins the other night. The Leafs struggling at home with a 2-5-3 record. Goal differential, Carolina is plus 39. The last time I did the show, they were plus 29. So good trending in the direction there of making sure that you're scoring enough. Goals for Maple Leafs are minus 25. Like I said, they're a team that even when they were at their best, they usually had to score a lot to win. Goals for per game, 3.47 to 3.12. Goals against per game, 2.93 to 3.43. I'm happy that that's lower for Carolina because the defense has looked a little bit uncharacteristic from them as of late. I'm hoping that that's something they'll get corrected throughout the last part of the season. However, when I show the splits over the course of the months of the season that have occurred so far, I do have a little bit more that I want to talk about in regards to Carolina's defense right now. I know a lot of people are concerned about it. I'm a little bit concerned about it, but like I said before, coming out of the Olympic break, I said it's a good thing that the Hurricanes made as much hay as they did before because this month sucks. You're over halfway through it, but the hardest part of the schedule, you've got about 10 more days. That's going to be really hard on the team. If they come out of this with a 550 win percentage and not too many injuries, you already don't have ghosts. But if you can come out of this with not too many injuries and a 550 win percentage this month was a win. This was always going to be a difficult month, regardless of how the team did before. 5-on-5 goals percentage, Carolina is sitting at 53.85. The Leafs are sitting at 46.25, so they're well below the line there. Power play 22.2 for Carolina. That may look concerning on the surface, but like I said, we're going to look at the month by month here. Maple Leafs 19.4 for their power play. Penalty kills, Carolina 79.3. Again, I'm going to look at the split there to show something, and then penalty kill of 83% for the Leafs. The season series is currently tied at 1-1. This game will decide it, although that will more than likely not be consequential to the Hurricanes in the standings unless there's some sort of paradigm shift over the course of the next few games, but that is not going to happen. The Leafs are all but mathematically eliminated at this point. It's a foregone conclusion. That being said, that's why I'm filing this under a trap game. No Matthews. Joseph Wall will be in net. We're going to get to all that. All right. So on the surface, it does not appear that the Hurricanes have a speed advantage. I still think that they're a faster team than the Maple Leafs, and there's two reasons for that. One, you'll notice when it comes to the volume of how many 22 or how many bursts they have, whether it's the 22 plus, the 20 to 22, or the 18 to 20, they have a big advantage in all those right there in terms of how often that they're doing that. The Maple Leafs have an overall top speed, but the overall speed advantage goes to Carolina. We don't see that as often as we used to. It's nice to actually see that tonight. Offensive zone time 54.3 to 39.2, neutral zone time 18.4 to 17.9, defensive zone time 36.3 to 42.9. Shot attempt differential, Carolina is well ahead of them. They have a 13.1 difference overall here between being plus 8.1 to -5 for the Leafs. Shots on goal differential, not a whole lot of a difference there. That's only 0.3 of a difference overall, with plus 0.2 for Carolina, minus 0.1 for Toronto. They are one of those teams that likes to generate high danger chances and score on them. They're not going to get a ton of shots, but even without Matthews, this team can still probably do some damage in that regard. Going here, looking at the shots on goal, big advantage for Carolina all the way through here. Nothing that wasn't expected here. 2,202 to 1,800 or 1,880. 608 to 561 for high danger, 651 for mid range to 528, 532 to 368 for long range. So Carolina has pretty significant advantages all the way across the board here in shot volume, again, to be expected. Goal differential. This is why I was talking about the whole thing with the high danger shots. Despite there being a 236 to 215 even strength differential here, high danger goals, these teams are dead even at 110 apiece. Mid-range 86 to 73, long range 20 to 12. So you have your differences there. But again, Toronto is one of those teams that can generate high danger chances. Now, one other thing I want to touch on again, since I didn't talk about it when I was a couple of slides back. Part of Toronto's speed advantage is gone, and part of that, a big part of that, is because Bobby McMahon was traded. Bobby McMahon was probably the fastest forward on that team. He's out of the equation now. He's in Seattle. So that's the one thing to be considered with that. So Carolina might have more of a speed advantage on paper than it initially looked like. High danger chances, a lot of those are generated and finished on because of Austin Matthews, who unfortunately, through no fault of his own, is not present because of what Radko Gudas did. That's something that the Hurricanes can take advantage of because they literally do not have their best player. Their other best player was traded to Vegas and in a sign and trade last year. John Tavares, still a good player, but he's on the other side of the mountain. Their defense does not frighten me at all. Matthew Nyes is playing injured. Like I said, this has all the classic makings of a Hurricanes trap game. Now, here's what I want to look at here with the splits. Look particularly at the penalty kill percentage, 82.1, 77.1, 78.8. You'll notice that it started to tick back up a little bit when Jacob Slavin came back into the lineup. January, 84.8, went up a whole lot there. February, 70%, not a big deal. The reason I say that is that's only a 5-game sample size because, of course, they went into the Olympic break right after that. And then in March, they are currently sitting at 73.3. I think the Hurricanes' penalty kill is going to return to form with consistent opponents. I am a little bit worried about the fact that they're not doing as well in that regard. I think when the time comes in the playoffs, they will acclimate to whoever they're playing against because they've shown in the past that they can do that. They will acclimate to whoever they're playing against, and that will improve. So that's the biggest thing that I want considered with that. Now, the power play. The power play is only sitting at 22% right now on the whole season. However, check out these numbers since they started getting it together near the end of November. In December, 24.4. January, 30.6. February, 26.7. This month so far, 23.8. Tonight's a good night to get that number to go up. Toronto's not that good defensively, and it's Joseph Wall in net instead of Stolars. So this is one of those nights where you can keep pumping those numbers up. 25% power play is about the threshold you need for the Canes to be successful and win theoretically any playoff series. So I really think that tonight's a good night to continue to go in the right direction with the power play. So I really want to highlight that even though the Hurricanes power play is sitting just at 22%, consistently since they started figuring it out near the end of November, it has gone up. It started out rough. We all know it. But sometime after the game in Nashville, they started trending upwards after that, and they haven't really looked back. February, for example, having a 26.7% power play over 5 games is really good. And I was at 2 of those games. So this month, even with this difficult schedule, 23.8 is not bad. 73.3 for the power play, honestly, for the penalty kill is honestly not that bad. It's just uncharacteristic, but there's a lot of road games, and this is a very, very difficult schedule during this entire time. So if that gets back to above 85% total before the season is over, which they're running out of time to do, I'll feel a lot better about it. But I'm not really worried about this team being able to adjust and acclimate its penalty kill with a consistent opponent in the playoffs. I think that that's where they'll start to figure it out. And keep in mind, they didn't have Slavin for a good amount of time this year. So, and, not having Jacob Slavin on the penalty kill is like a power play. It's like the Capitals power play not having Alex Ovechkin. It loses at least half of its effectiveness right off the bat from that. So, no big changes to the lines here. Brandon Bussey will be in net. Svechnikov, Aho, Jarvis, Hall, Stankoven, Blake, Ehlers, Stahl, Martinook, Carrier, Jankowski, Robinson. Now, as far as the forwards go, I do have my concerns about the forward group going into the postseason. Yeah, everything is working fine right now. It will probably work fine through the first 2 rounds. I don't know if it will work against a theoretical ECF opponent, and the standings are still so tight right now that we can't really project who that's going to be. So it's the same thing with, like I've talked about before, with wild card, or with the first round being against wild card 1 or 2. That's going to be a more difficult series than what the Hurricanes have faced in the past with their first round matchups. I cannot deny how good the Hall, Stankoven, Blake line looks. It's significantly better at home than it is on the road, which is where I have a concern. Ehlers is doing just fine with Stahl and Martinook for right now. I'm just concerned about what it would look like later. Carrier, Jankowski, Robinson, it's a 4th line. It does its job. It produces a small net positive, but the biggest thing it does is keep the puck out of Carolina's net. As long as they're doing that, that's fine. Additionally, with the defensive pairs, I would imagine the reason why they've stayed the same, even though I've been critical of the Slavin and Chatfield pair. I know I've talked about that a whole lot, why I don't think that pair works very well, is because Miller, Walker, Riley, Nikishin, or normally Ghost Nikishin when he's not hurt, has worked really well. And it kind of goes back to the whole, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Hurricanes are still predominantly winning games. They're relatively dominant in games. They're not winning, they're not dominating games as much as we've characteristically seen them do in the past. However, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it's kind of the same thought process with the defense as well. Slavin and Chatfield, like I said, it's not a slight on either one of those players because you guys know I like both of them a lot. Jacob Slavin's probably my favorite active Hurricane other than Sebastian Aho and Alexander Nikishin. it's too many defensive eggs in one basket, if you ask me. There's a lot of times where Slavin and Chatfield, but more so Slavin, looks up to make an outlet pass, and Chatfield is parallel with him as opposed to being a couple of steps up ice, which is what Slavin is used to, having, Burns, D'Angelo, and Hamilton be the guy to his right. So there's a lot less pinching going on because those guys are not really big risk takers on the offensive blue line as far as retaining the zone and keeping things going. In a lot of ways, that's fine. It does kind of stifle a lot of the possession that the Hurricanes tend to generate in the offensive zone when that pair is on the ice. So I don't know if that's going to change between now and the playoffs. It's getting to the point where it's almost too late in the game to change the defensive pairs. And another thing I have to give Rod credit for, he's not gone to the line blender so heavily in this past season as he has in the past. He's allowed them to acclimate and work stuff out. Now, when you look at the Canes on paper, you definitely see a team that basically has a first line, a fourth line, and I'll say 2.5 lines. Instead of them being line 2, they're 2.5s. They're not quite great second lines, but they're not quite bad third lines either. So they're kind of in the middle. That's working right now. Will it work in the postseason? That's going to have to be, it's going to have to be tested in practical application. That's going to have to be battle tested to see if it's going to work. I think that it can. I'm not totally sold on it, though. And, of course, Delorier and tall Finnish guy who basically doesn't exist anymore are the healthy scratches for this game. Speaking of Nick Delorier, the one game that he was in, liked very much what I saw out of him. I don't know how much more Carolina will see him in the lineup, but he definitely could be useful in the playoffs, especially if you've got a series, if you take 2 games at home, and you go on the road and you're up against a physical team. Throwing Delorier in the lineup to mix things up at that point when you've already got a 2-game lead, or throwing him into an elimination game to make sure that nobody does anything they shouldn't do to try and even it up, he's a good guy to have. I don't know if we're going to see Kokoniemi again. I really don't. The thing that kind of annoys me about that is, let's say that Carolina does manage to win a cup. Kokoniemi, if he does not play a game in the Stanley Cup Finals, would not get his name on the cup as it stands currently, because he has only played 38 games, I believe, 37, 38, something like that, and you need 41 to get your name stenciled on the cup. So that's the one other thing that I'm kind of like, about with it. That would be kind of, if you ask me. But I'm hoping it doesn't go down that way. But we will see. Now, as far as the Leafs go, now, Nyes is not listed in the Leafs lines that Mark Masters put out here, but he does say that he's going to play. Michelli, Tavares, Cowan, Nyes, Domi. Oh, wait, yeah, he is listed there. Nyes, Domi, Nylander, Joshua, Grolu, Robertson, Lawrence, Quillian, Yancroc, Myers, Carlo, McCabe, Stetcher, Benoit, Ekman, Larson. Riley is absent due to the flu. Don't know if he's going to play tonight or not. Joseph Wall will get the start. We're going to talk about that a little bit more here shortly. Nothing about this team scares me, but at the same time, that's exactly what scares me tonight. This is, by definition, a trap game in every way imaginable. So they're missing their best player. Their far and away best player. Who is considered their top defenseman, Morgan Riley, may or may not play, last I saw. This is a team Carolina should walk all over, and that's what worries me the most. They have had a habit of playing down to their competition. Now, maybe that's subconscious, like I've talked about in the past, and they're saving the gas for the important run here in a few weeks. Because the big games are coming. They're not here yet. But these are the big ones. But I just hope Carolina goes in here and does not play down to their competition. Even if they lose tonight, I want them to go in there and actually play like they're trying to win. Play them as if you were playing Buffalo or Tampa or Pittsburgh or Colorado. Treat this game absolutely no differently. That's the biggest thing I'm looking for. Even if they lose, as long as they lose a hard-fought game and they play down to their competition, that's fine. That's good. Tough part of the schedule. They just got to get through this month, and then they'll be good to go. Squirrely Bird, I bet that's you, isn't it? There in the comments. So, going into the goaltending here. Brandon Bussey, Joseph Wall. Bussey has played 32 games, 125, lost 6, 1 overtime loss, 2.45 goals against average, and an 8.96 save percentage. Joseph Wall has also played 32 games, 14 wins, 12 losses, 5 overtime losses, 3.08 goals against average, and a save percentage of 906. Bussey has fallen off a little bit. Now, what I think has contributed to that is Frederik Andersen played in the Olympics, so he was able to keep rolling, and he was already starting to play a little bit better before the Olympics came around. Came out of the Olympics, looked confident, looked like he'd returned to form in a lot of ways, and he has rode that momentum. When I was there when they played against Detroit a few weeks ago, that was one of the best games I've seen Frederik Andersen have in a while. So I was already kind of thinking that Rod was, this is going to sound bad, but hear me out. Rod was probably already kind of looking for a hot streak from Anderson so that he goes back to being your number one goalie in the playoffs. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's just Rod favoring experience, as we have seen in the past. That doesn't mean that it's the right or the wrong decision. That's something that I think would have to be determined a little bit closer to the playoffs themselves. That being said, Bussy needs to have a good game tonight. He's been a little bit off lately. The team in front of him hadn't helped him in a few of those occasions. But this would be a really good night for him to start to return form as well. He will see high danger shots tonight. And that's what his biggest bread and butter is saving high danger shots. That's what made him such a good fit with the Hurricanes. But he came out of the Olympic break after going cold and not playing for a couple of weeks. I kind of expected something like this, but now he should be back in a rhythm. Now he's playing against a team that kind of he tends to counter their style very well. So this is one of those nights where he could start returning to form and start bringing that conversation back up between him and Freddie of who's going to be the starter. Because right now, if the playoffs started tomorrow, it's Freddie. So Bussy's got to make that conversation happen again, and I'm expecting him to try and do so. So save percentage, relatively close numbers here between these two guys. 896 to 906 for all locations, 848 to 822 favoring Bussy, 897 to 864 at mid-range favoring Wall, and long range 966 to 976 favoring Wall. You won't see a ton of long range shots out of Toronto, at least not 5-5. You will not see as many in-tight goals from them or as in-tight scoring chances from them, at least without Matthews, but you'll still see plenty of them. So this is, like I said, a good night for him to get back to what he was doing and making those high amounts of timely saves and get him going in the right direction again. That being said, if this is the Brandon Bussy that the Hurricanes paid $1.9 million to, I've got no complaints. The insanity run that he went on was never going to last. No goalie does that. No goalie. There are goalies who go on those runs and they do it for a while, and none of it ever lasts. Connor Hellebuck doesn't go on runs like this. Jake Ottinger, whoever you want to name, they go on runs like this, but they never last, and that's normal. What I'm looking for from Bussy more than anything is to be 75% of the goalie he was when he went on that insanity run, because that is more than enough for the Hurricanes to win a bunch of games with him in net. And that's more than enough for the conversation to come up of who you have starting the playoffs. I think that he's got a taller hill to climb. Even when he was on his insanity run, he's got a taller hill to climb to be the starter in the playoffs, because Rod does favor experience. And Bussy, as great as he has yet to play an NHL playoff game. Do you see him do it this time? Perhaps. Do you see him do it in relief? More likely than him starting? Yes. But definitely need to see something there in regards to him. This is a good night for him to turn it around. He's not going to get a better opportunity than this to restart that conversation. Shots against, goals against. So goals against from all locations, Bussy. A little bit lower on each one of them, but Carolina does defend better than Toronto, even with Carolina not defending as well as we've characteristically seen in the past. But the big thing is going to be the high danger shots. If he can keep those out, he'll be fine. He's got to be a little bit better about playing the puck. He seems to have taken a couple of steps in the right direction, but where I expect that to get rectified the most is during the offseason. That's going to be the big thing he needs to work on then. He can make some changes to it now. He can learn some things now. But as far as completely reinventing that part of his game, which is the only thing that he really needs to just completely change, I would say the offseason would be better for that. So, all right. That, I believe, is all for that. Yep, that is all for that, because that's from the previous show. Alrighty, we will get to the rest of the comments. Sorry, I'm late. What did I miss? Mostly normal stuff. Just kind of talking about what the Canes need to do to win this one tonight. I talked a lot about Bussy. I talked a whole lot about Brandon Bussy, because this is going to be a big game for him. This is going to be a very big game for him. Bobby, what's up, dude? Hoping Bussy stays in crease tonight and stop trying to play the puck so much. Yeah, when in doubt, just don't play the puck. That would be the best thing for him. Zach says, "Let's go Leafs." Okay, thanks, Squirrely. I know it's you. I know it's you. Feels like every game against non-playoff opposition is a trap game for the Canes. Yeah, it does feel that way right now, and that's one of the reasons why I talked about it so much. Don't play down to your competition tonight. Do not play down to your competition tonight. Execute this game like you're playing against the Sabres, Tampa, Colorado, Dallas, any good team you want to name. Execute it the same way. You got to have that mentality. like I said, subconsciously they might be backing off because they know what's coming up. Consciously, a Rod Brennan coach team is not going to back off in any game. But subconsciously, these guys are probably thinking about, like, hey, the big games are coming up. We don't want to be gassed. Now, additionally to that, Carolina does have something to play for tonight. Like I said in the beginning of the show, neck and neck with Buffalo, 92 points. Hurricanes having home ice advantage throughout the entirety of the playoffs would be great, considering how good that they have been at home. So, right now, Carolina has one game in hand. If they win this game, Buffalo loses their next one, and I can't remember if Buffalo plays tonight or not because I'm going to be keeping an eye on that game as well. I will check real quick. Modern technology is so awesome. Okay, the Sabres do not play tonight. I think they play tomorrow, though. I'm pretty sure that they play the Kings tomorrow. Okay, yeah, the Sabres play the Kings tomorrow at 4, which is something I'm going to be watching. Should Buffalo lose tomorrow and Carolina win tonight, regardless of whether it's in regulation or overtime, then you have a 4-point separation and a game in hand. That's a good position to be in when you're getting this close to the end of the season. I want Carolina to win the Eastern Conference. I really do. Because home ice advantage for them, especially with them not defending as characteristically well as they have in the past, it's going to be a big deal. So I'm really hoping that they'll do that. Damon says, honestly, would like to get a point out at minimum. Yeah, at least 1 point, but there's no reason that Carolina shouldn't walk away with 2 tonight. If they play to their identity, there's no reason why they can't. There's absolutely no reason why they can't. So, Grayson says, I can't wait for playoff Bussy soon in a good way. Yeah, he needs to show back up if he wants to have that job. Raleigh98 says, a lot of goaltending seems to be luck and confidence. Bussy just needs to get back. He's overthinking a little bit lately. You can tell in the way in which he plays the puck that he's overthinking stuff. And teams have also, to some degree, kind of figured him out. Particularly, I'm talking about individual, really skilled players seem to have kind of figured him out, and they're waiting him out just a little bit longer. And I think that's contributing to him not making some of the saves he was making before. I don't think that that's going to continue to be an issue, though. I'm expecting him to have a good game tonight. I really am. He needs to. But I really think that tonight's going to be a night where he gets it and where he has a good game. I am very much expecting it. Every goalie goes through this. They get hot, they get cold. In Bussy's case, it's burning hot, freezing cold. Well, I won't even say freezing cold, but like moderately cold. He just needs to have a above lukewarm game tonight, get going in the right direction, and then he'll be good to go. The team in front of him needs to play well. Everybody needs to play better. I know that the record's good and everything like that. This team has still got another gear that they can find. James says, what do you think of the reports of the ask at the deadline? Seems like Carolina made the smart move rolling with their guys and building the next year. Yes, when I saw the reports of what Drury was asking for, it does this team absolutely no good, even for a second-line center that you know that fits. It does this team absolutely no good to subtract from the regular roster to make that happen. Chris Drury is such a bad GM. I'm at the point where I'm ready to say he's a bad person because of it. He's such a bad GM. He's literally making he's bringing the rest of the league down with him. He could have made a good trade to help the future of his organization, which does not look very good. He could have made a better trade to do that, make his team better in the future, and get Vincent Trocheck, who has played very well for the Rangers, out of there so that he can have a shot at a cup, because like he said, he's 32, he wants a shot at it, and he held fast on it when the asking price he had for Trocheck was completely unreasonable. Like the asking price he had for Trocheck, that's not even that's totally a non-starter. So, but yeah, Chris Drury is that bad of a GM. Like, I'm starting to hate him as much as Rangers fans do. Now, granted, I think he's done a great job there making them bad. But that particular thing, I'm like, bro, you're really unrealistic. Like, he's like those women that, go on Tinder and say, oh, a guy has to be 6 feet tall, rich, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, good luck. Grayson says, I really think this might be the best Canes team in Rod coaching area. I hope I don't sound crazy for that. It's a good team. It's better than the one he had last season. In some ways, it's better than 23-24, but my thoughts are still 22-23 team was goated. That was my favorite one in the Rod era by far. I love that team. That was the best one, if you ask me. James says, hard agree on Drury, but glad it's the Rangers feeling that the most. Yeah, let them burn. Let them burn. And of course, their fans will be like, their fans are hilarious. Even like the ones I'm mutuals with, it's like now all of a sudden, oh, Scott Moore was never the main piece of the Keandre Miller trade. I'm like, that's not what you were saying in summer. It was funny to me, but there's that. Um, and now they're saying no, the picks were the main pieces. I'm like, yeah, what good revisionist history there. 1984 take. Um, but yeah, they're going to be bad for a while. He made a bad decision by not pulling the trigger with trading Trocheck at a reasonable price. That's just going to prolong their rebuild. And if he keeps going this much longer, it's not even going to be in retool territory. It's going to be full-blown rebuild like they were 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something along those lines. It's going to have to be something like that. So, they act like that this is just a simple in transition situation for them, and it's not going to be. It's really not, because you look at how bad they are at developing prospects. The only way that they can really improve their team is through signing people in free agency. But if they're not winning enough, people aren't going to want to go there. Throwing a ton of money at who they can in a salary cap era, which you can only do that so many times before you eat up all your cap. So I think that's going to be about it for the iteration of the Rangers here. And they're going to say, well, if we'd made the playoffs, we would have beat you. I'm like, well, then make the playoffs, then prove it. Put your money where your mouth is. But we don't have to worry about that this season. Grayson says us Canes are so blessed. Chris Drury is not the GM. Rangers fans in Broadway are going to suck for a while. And it's sad he's doing that in a big market. Yeah. There are much worse situations to be in than having Eric Tulsky as GM. That is most certainly true. Am I disappointed that nothing got done at the deadline? Yeah. Was I incredibly disappointed in it right after it happened? Yes. Am I happy that this is the result as opposed to what could have happened if Tulsky was trigger happy? Yes. Two things can be true at once. The team needed to be improved at the deadline. Nobody's arguing that. I mean, there's some people who are saying that this team is fine the way it is. I still don't believe that. I'm not saying that they can't win, but the likeliness of it is pretty low. The other thing that is also true is that the mortgaging of the future that it would have taken, and to some degree the present, if they were asking for a roster player, the mortgaging of the future it would have taken for this to happen is not worth it. And then, not to mention, since the trade deadline passed, Alexander Nikishin has been playing the best I've seen him play so far. Absolutely amazing. So I think that was kind of on his mind, that he was potentially being used as a trade chip. He was reportedly involved in Carolina's offer to get Quinn Hughes, which that makes sense why you'd have to offer a player like that up to get Quinn Hughes. But ultimately, things I think will turn out better. It just might have cost the Canes from winning it this year. But I never thought they were going to win it this year. I always thought that next year was going to be it, because 24-25 was the transition year. I'm like, okay, transition year, that's 1. Then this one is 2, and then at the end of 3, which would be 26-27, is when I thought they would get it done. Because when they did the little retool on the fly they did in 24-25, I'm like, all right, cool. They're probably 2 to 3 years out now. That was to be expected with the turnover that you had in the roster. That's totally fine. Totally good with all that. A lot of people are basing Carolina not doing anything on the fact that Florida will not be there to cause any problems. And that's not the right way to look at it, in my opinion. In my opinion, you try to build a team that can beat anybody. 23-24 team was built that way. To a lesser degree, 22-23 team was built that way, and they couldn't get it done because Sergei Bobrovsky did Sergei Bobrovsky things. And then the Stanley Cup Finals against Vegas would have been very difficult, especially considering Mark Stone magically emerged from the Lazarus pit, as he always does back then. You can't get away with that now. So, James says also, shout out to Tulsky for sticking to Bettman, speaking up for player safety. I'm glad he did that, but at the same time, I'm worried if there will be some reprisal through officiating, if you know what I mean. Because of that, we will see. Grayson says, so the Rangers beat the Canes twice in the playoffs, all for nothing. Yeah, pretty much. 1994, they say. All right, guys, that is going to be it for me. I do plan on doing damage report tonight, but I am going to go get ready to relax for a little bit. I've been doing schoolwork all day. I've been in front of this damn computer all day. I didn't even get to go to the gym today, but I mean, it was a scheduled off day for me anyway. But have fun. Enjoy the game. As John Forsland says, sit back and enjoy this one. I will see you guys after.